was it? Do we know who can and can't go to work? Our political correspondent Kate McCann joining us from Westminster. Key workers were told, Kate, but who is that?
Well, we know from the government's advice and what from Boris Johnson said last night that you are not to go to work this morning unless it is necessary. That does not restrict people outside of that key worker category, though. We originally thought that that would be the case, but it isn't the case. The government's guidance is if you can't work from home, then you can go in, but only those who cannot work from home. Now, it's caused some confusion this morning. We know there are some shops that have remained open, even though shops have been told to close. So there are questions about whether or not this guidance is going to be followed. We know that it will be in place for 3 weeks initially. We know that the government will review it if the scientific evidence shows that people are complying with it. At the moment, the government has been relying on advice from technology to see how many people are moving around in cities and towns and parks and open spaces. We know that they needed 75% of people to comply with some of these tough restrictions in order to curb the spread of the virus, and that just wasn't happening. That's why we've now seen tougher measures in place. Boris Johnson has said that they will be reviewed in 3 weeks if the evidence allows the government to do so. But there are others who believe that these restrictions will have to be in place far longer to deal with this coronavirus crisis.
Means people like construction workers can go to work. We've seen quite a lot of pictures from the tubes this morning where people are still rammed in like sardines. That's not what the Prime Minister was planning, is it?
Well, I think there are some questions. We know that in other countries, for example, construction workers have been allowed to continue going to work. There is guidance for them. For example, you should still be trying to maintain that 2-metre rule. But there are questions too about how that's even possible if you're working on a building site and, for example, you need somebody to hold your ladder. I mean, you know, there are lots of instances where that may not be possible. We have seen pictures from the tube this morning of key workers, those hospital workers, trying to get to work. There was one particular tweet from a lady who was trying to get from Zone 4 to Zone 1 in London on a completely packed tube. That's not what the government or TfL, the Mayor of London, want to see. There is a slight issue in that the Mayor of London has restricted the number of tubes moving around the city in order to try and encourage people to stay at home. But clearly lots of people still feel that it's essential that they make those journeys. There will be questions for the government and for the Mayor of London too on that strategy later on today.
OK, Kate, for now, thanks a lot.